In this podcast episode, Brian Klaas, a political scientist and author, discusses his book, Fluke, Chance, Chaos, and Why Everything We Do Matters. The central thesis of Klaas's work is that small, seemingly insignificant events can have profound and far-reaching consequences due to the chaotic and interconnected nature of complex systems. He argues that we tend to underestimate the role of chance and randomness in shaping outcomes, instead favoring narratives of control and intentionality. Klaas provides numerous historical examples to illustrate how tiny changes or coincidences altered the course of major events. For instance, he recounts how the dropping of atomic bombs on Japan in World War II was influenced by a vacation the U.S. Secretary of War took to Kyoto years earlier, making him reluctant to target the city. Similarly, the events of 9/11 were shaped by a storm the night before that led to clearer skies and changes in flight schedules. The author emphasizes that while we may not be able to control outcomes, our actions still have tremendous influence through ripple effects we can't always foresee. This perspective challenges common notions of free will and agency, but Klaas argues it can actually be empowering by highlighting how even small choices matter. He advocates for embracing uncertainty, building resilience, and finding meaning in our ability to shape the world in subtle ways. Klaas provides several vivid historical examples to demonstrate how flukes and chance events shaped major outcomes. The American Revolution was partially triggered by a shortage of tall trees in Britain, which led to attempts to claim forests in New England and sparked colonial resentment. This shows how geographical quirks can influence political events. During the Civil War, secret Confederate battle plans wrapped around cigars were accidentally dropped and found by Union soldiers, critically altering the course of the war. The authenticity of the plans was verified only because a Union clerk happened to recognize the handwriting from his previous job. The Arab Spring was sparked by a single act of self-immolation in Tunisia, which Klaas likens to a grain of sand, causing an avalanche in an unstable system pushed to its limits. The extinction of the dinosaurs hinged on an asteroid hitting Earth in a particular location with gypsum-rich rock, producing a toxic gas cloud. A slight change in timing or location may have led to a very different outcome. These examples illustrate how major historical events often hinge on seemingly minor coincidences or environmental factors beyond human control. Klaas argues this challenges simplistic notions of historical causality focused solely on human choices and intentions. A key framework Klaas uses is chaos theory, which studies how small changes in initial conditions can lead to vastly different outcomes in complex systems. He explains that while we can often predict short-term effects, long-term trajectories become increasingly difficult to forecast due to compounding effects of tiny variations. Klaas uses the analogy of a sand pile to illustrate how systems can become increasingly unstable and prone to large collapses triggered by small events. He argues many social and political systems are in this fragile state, making them vulnerable to sudden upheavals that seem to come out of nowhere, but are actually the result of accumulated tensions. The author contrasts this with how humans evolved to detect patterns and assume stability, leading us to underestimate the role of randomness. He notes that our day-to-day lives have become more predictable in modern times, while the overall structure of society has become less stable, the opposite of what our ancestors experienced. This mismatch contributes to our difficulty in grasping the true nature of complex systems. Given the chaotic nature of complex systems, Klaas argues we need to be more humble about our ability to predict and control outcomes. He is skeptical of precise probabilistic forecasts for one-off events like elections, noting that underlying conditions are constantly shifting in ways that render past data less relevant. Instead, Klaas advocates for building resilience and flexibility into our systems and personal lives. He suggests focusing more on experimenting and adapting rather than trying to optimize for specific outcomes. The author shares how he has incorporated more unstructured time and focus on relationships into his own life as a way of building resilience. At the same time, Klaas emphasizes that this perspective doesn't mean we should abandon attempts to shape outcomes. He argues that precisely because small actions can have outsized effects, everything we do matters. The key is to focus on our sphere of influence rather than trying to control everything. Klaas's work raises challenging questions about free will and personal agency. While he doesn't believe in metaphysical free will, he argues this doesn't negate the importance of individual choice and responsibility. Our decisions still shape outcomes, even if we can't always predict or control the results. The author suggests reframing agency in terms of influence rather than control. While we can't dictate exactly how things will unfold, our choices and actions constantly send ripples through interconnected systems in ways that matter. He finds this perspective empowering, as it means no moment or interaction is truly inconsequential. At the same time, Klaas emphasizes the need to recognize the role of factors beyond our control in shaping our circumstances and opportunities. He uses the example of people born into poverty to illustrate how starting conditions profoundly impact life trajectories regardless of individual choices. Balancing personal responsibility with awareness of external factors is key to a nuanced view of agency. Klaas argues that recognizing the role of chance should lead us to be more humble about our successes and less harsh on ourselves for failures. If outcomes are shaped by countless factors beyond our control, we can't claim full credit for achievements or blame for setbacks. The author suggests this perspective can be comforting, as it means our lowest moments aren't entirely our fault. He even finds beauty in the interconnected nature of events, noting that our worst experiences are part of the causal chain leading to our best moments, and vice versa. At the same time, Klaas emphasizes this doesn't mean we should be fatalistic or abandon striving for goals. The key is to focus on the aspects we can influence while accepting uncertainty about outcomes. This balanced approach can reduce anxiety stemming from the illusion of control while still motivating purposeful action. Given the unpredictable nature of complex systems, Klaas advocates for building personal and societal resilience. This means creating slack in our schedules and systems rather than optimizing everything to the point of fragility. The author shares how he has incorporated more unstructured time and focus on relationships that can withstand upheaval. Klaas also emphasizes the importance of experimentation and stepping outside comfort zones. In an uncertain world, trying new things and remaining adaptable is key to navigating change. He contrasts this with the rigidity that can come from believing we fully understand and can control outcomes. Despite highlighting the role of randomness, Klaas finds deep meaning in the interconnected nature of events his work reveals. Recognizing how our actions influence the world in subtle but real ways can be profoundly motivating. The author argues this scientific perspective actually imbues everyday moments with more significance than traditional notions of cosmic purpose. Klaas discusses the challenges in communicating nuanced ideas about probability and uncertainty, especially in media appearances. There is often pressure to project certainty and make firm predictions, even when the honest answer is, I don't know. The author argues we would benefit from more experts and pundits acknowledging the limits of their knowledge. Similarly, Klaas is skeptical of precise probabilistic forecasts for one-off events like elections. He notes that we can't run multiple trials to verify such probabilities, making them essentially unfalsifiable. The author advocates for more focus on explaining causal logic and potential scenarios rather than specific numerical probabilities. More broadly, Klaas emphasizes the need to distinguish between realms where we can make reasonable probabilistic assessments based on past patterns versus highly uncertain domains where we have little relevant data. Developing this discernment is key to navigating an unpredictable world without falling into either false certainty or paralyzing doubt. Brian Klaas's work offers a thought-provoking perspective on the nature of causality and human agency in complex systems. By highlighting the role of chance and interconnectedness, he challenges simplistic narratives of control and intentionality. At the same time, Klaas finds profound meaning and empowerment in recognizing how our choices shape the world in subtle but real ways. The author advocates for embracing uncertainty, building resilience, and remaining adaptable in the face of unpredictability. He suggests focusing on our sphere of influence rather than trying to control everything, while cultivating humility about our ability to forecast specific outcomes. This balanced approach aims to reduce anxiety stemming from illusory control while still motivating purposeful action. Ultimately, Klaas's ideas invite us to find wonder in the intricate causal webs that shape our world, while taking seriously our role in influencing those webs through countless small actions. By highlighting how everything we do matters, his work imbues everyday moments and choices with deeper significance.